this way of positioning life insurance will help you sell more today. And I'm going to teach you the life insurance funnel. And this is something that I came across as a team member. You know, my first 2 years, I wrote 10 life apps a year, and I was frustrated. I was discouraged, and I couldn't quite figure out why it wasn't working for me. But as I was in the industry, I started to develop awareness around kind of the buying experience for the customer and the prospect. Every time I got to talk to someone when I was quoting their new household, but also like a current customer, whether it's servicing them, whether I'm calling on a list, holding a review, like I started to develop awareness around their buying experience. And again, going back to the first principle, put yourself in their shoes. Try to understand them, because the more that you can understand them, the more that you can speak to them in a way that's compelling, in a way that can help them. And they can kind of understand that you can help them, okay? So the life insurance funnel, my first 2 years, you know, I'm pivoting to life insurance. I'm bringing it up with new households, service transactions, running lists and reviews, and it just wasn't working for me. And I remember feeling, like I said, frustrated, discouraged, couldn't figure it out. What I learned was this. The way I was positioning life insurance with people my first 2 years was kind of the issue, right? The way that, you know, we're taught in the industry to sell life insurance is really in only one way, and it's the life needs analysis, okay? Meaning, get people enough coverage to pay off all of their loans, right? Spelled L-I-F-E here. Have enough coverage to what? Pay off their loans, mortgages, debt. Have enough to replace income for 20 years. Pay for a funeral. And then like education. Or also like everything else. Okay? So with Colter's quoting new households. When Colter pivots to life insurance, guess how he positions it for the new household? Well, we're going to do all of this for you. I'm taking service calls, payment calls, added drivers, changed vehicles, you know, billing questions, claims, whatever it was. Guess how Colter's positioning life insurance with every customer that he gets to talk to? Cover everything. I'm running lists. Guess how Colter's positioning life insurance for current customers calling lists on lists? All or nothing. I'm holding review appointments. Same thing. Now, I love the life needs analysis. Total disclaimer, I love it. I think it's a great framework to help people, to help us as team members and agents understand what coverage people, quote unquote, need. I love it. However, my first 2 years, I was positioning it like this with every interaction. And what I recognized is that one of two things is what I recognized. Number one is that, you know, when I would pivot into life insurance early on, it was so easy for people to just decline, like I talked about in that first video, because they're only thinking about their auto insurance. That's what they're getting a quote on, or they're only calling in to make a payment on their auto insurance or their homeowner's insurance. They're not thinking about life insurance. And so I found that number one, people would just decline me, tell me no, and I couldn't even get into any sort of selling. That was frustrating. But the second thing is when I would get through my pivot and the customer was somewhat open to have a conversation around life insurance, I would go straight to the life needs analysis, quote them their full coverage need. And here's what I ran into, is that I wasn't closing policies. People were telling me, I need to think about it. This is great information, but I need to think about it. Or this is awesome. I just need to make sure that my spouse is on board. Or, you know, I just want the car insurance, Colter, for now. It's getting all of these objections. It was frustrating because I wasn't closing policies. Well, my third year, I recognized that it was too overwhelming for people. I'm quoting a new household and I bring up life insurance to do all of this, and they weren't even thinking about life insurance to begin with. It's too overwhelming. Same thing with service pivots, lists, reviews, like too overwhelming for people. Mainly because when they think about me, they're interacting with me, they're thinking about P&C, not life. Same thing goes with health, by the way, right? Short-term disability income, supplemental health. Like, people just don't think about us with those products, okay? And so what I changed is, instead, in my third year, when I wrote 123 apps, then 231 the next year, then 251, what I changed was, instead of trying to solve every single need for a customer or a prospect with life insurance, instead of trying to pay off all of their loans, all of their debt, pay off their mortgage, instead of trying to also pay off or replace their income for 20 years, pay for a funeral, pay for education, everything else, instead of trying to do all of those up front with people, I just picked one. I just started with one immediate need instead of every single need. So maybe I would pay off a loan on a car. Maybe I would pay off a mortgage. If they didn't have any debt, maybe I would just position life insurance to just pay off a funeral. Just starting with one immediate need, not every need. And here's what I saw happen. I start writing policies. It was like my conversations completely took a full 180, and all of a sudden the customer's like listening to me. They're like, yeah, I like that. Right? It was almost like the complexity was removed from the conversation, and it wasn't overwhelming anymore. It was a decision where they're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's the key, is with whatever interaction you have with a customer or prospect, do what you can to make life insurance make sense, like make logical sense for that specific interaction. For example, if Colter's calling in to add his truck to his policies and he's got a loan on the truck, position life insurance to pay off the loan and just start there. Even though Colter's got a mortgage on his home, he's got a family that relies on him for his income, he's got more needs to cover, just start with one immediate need that makes the most sense for that specific interaction with Colter. Maybe it's Colter's not a current customer, but maybe it's a new business quote. Well, try to find one immediate need and position life insurance to just solve that one immediate need initially, okay? And so here is the life insurance funnel concept. There are 3 steps to this funnel, okay? Step 1 is to solve one immediate need, okay? One need. That could be to pay off a loan, pay off a mortgage, pay for a funeral. And what'll happen is, guys, you're gonna write smaller policies. $100,000 select 10 term, maybe a $50,000 policy, maybe a $250,000 policy, right? You're going to write smaller policies initially. But again, this is just step 1. Now, I want to talk about a limiting belief that I'm sure many of you are thinking right now. And it's one that I dealt with early on as well. And it's, well, I like that, but it's the customer actually needs more coverage. Like, they need more. They need to pay off the mortgage, and they've got a family. We need to replace income for them. Like, they actually need more. So if I'm only just doing this policy, I'm doing a disservice for them. Okay? That is a limiting belief. It sat in my mind for a long time early on that prevented me from doing this. And I had this belief for a very, very, very long time. But towards the end of my second year, I took a phone call that changed the way I thought about life insurance, began to help me change my belief around this. And I'm sitting in the office. It was a time where I started in our legacy office, super busy, a lot of organic phone calls coming in. But year 2, we opened a MOA. And so the end of my second year, the MOA's fresh, right? It's a smaller book. It's not got the organic opportunities like the legacy did. It's quite frankly, a lot of times it felt dead. And so I was, working as proactively as I could. I was always trying to find ways to create opportunities for myself because they weren't just coming in naturally and organically. Well, I remember, that being the case, I was, primarily sales, but if the phone call rang, I'm answering it. I'm picking it up because I want to talk to people. I want to create opportunities from that. I remember I'm sitting there one afternoon and, I get a phone call. I pick it up, saw the caller ID, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know this family, because they lived by me growing up. The son, actually, him and I went kindergarten through high school together. And so I knew a little bit about this family, so I pick it up and, give you a little background. Their son, he's my age, right? The dad was calling in. It's a single dad, right? He did his best to be a good dad, provide, for his son financially, but it wasn't super easy for them, right? Like he was doing his best to make ends meet. So they weren't super well off. Well, I remember he called in and immediately, tone of his voice, I knew something was up. And he proceeded to just let me know that his son had just died in a car accident. And man, those are hard phone calls to take. And this one especially because I knew him, right? Kindergarten through high school, I knew him. It became very real. And, the questions that he asked me next really changed the way that I look at life insurance. And he said, hey, Colter. So by the way, back up. When he tells me that his son passed away, I'm pulling up the account and I'm like, please say that there's some sort of coverage here. Whether it's a life insurance policy, best case scenario. If not, at least S coverage, please. So I look up, no life insurance. I go into the vehicles, no S coverage. I'm looking through the opportunities, I'm looking through the notes, nothing. I can't even see that we had opened up a life conversation with them. I can't even see that we offered it to them. And so the questions that he asked me next changed everything for me. He said, Colter, is there any coverage on the homeowner's policy or car insurance policy that could help cover some of these final expenses? And I had to tell him no. We do not have any coverage in place. I'm so sorry. That sucked. That absolutely sucked. I remember hanging up that phone call and I felt defeated. I felt like we had let this family down. I felt like I'd let these people down that I knew. And I remember thinking and having a thought that, you know what? What would a $50,000 policy, what could that have done here for this single dad that just lost his son? We can't take away from the fact that he literally just lost his son. I cannot imagine the emotional, mental, just pain that he's going through, and this hole and this void that is never going to be able to be filled. But now this guy has to have an added financial burden on top of that. Whether that's pull out money from savings and pay for it, maybe that's go right back to work and not have time to figure out how he's gonna, live without his son. He would have to be thrown right back into reality. The mental, the emotional pain of losing his son is now that much harder because now he's got financial pain. How much would a $50,000, even a $25,000 policy, how far could that have gone for this man? Would it have changed his life completely? No. But it allowed him to have time to figure out how he's not gonna have his son around anymore, instead of being thrown right back into life and to work. Yeah. So guys, after that phone call, I developed this belief, and I believe this, that something is better than nothing. A policy is better than no policy. And a good friend of mine, Landon, team member, he says we need to start with a policy so we can then get to a B policy, a better policy. Start with something. Get people covered with one immediate need. Take the complexity out of the conversation. Something is better than nothing. And the people that we get to talk to every day, most don't have a financial advisor. Most don't have life insurance outside of work. Most aren't even talked to about it. And a lot of them can't afford the full amount to cover every single need for them. So just start somewhere. Okay, so my first belief and my first message is that something is better than nothing. In your day-to-day conversations, if you're quoting new business, if you're doing service, if you're working lists, like, stop making it so complex for people. Give them an opportunity to get something going. Okay, so my third year, that's what I started to do. Solve one immediate need. That became step one of this funnel. Well, my fourth year, I remember going to my fourth year, my sales brain kicks in. And I'm thinking, I'd always been taught, going door to door, I wasn't given leads. I had to generate my own leads by knocking on people's doors, okay? And so I always remember thinking proactively, like, how can I like capitalize and maximize my sales through what I'm doing? And so my sales brain kicks in my fourth year, and I'm thinking, man, I wrote 123 apps last year. Going to my fourth year, I had goals to do even more in life insurance. And I remember thinking, like, well, how can I do that, right? What can I do? How can I work very strategically? How can I work smart? And I remember being taught, if people tell you yes once, if people buy from you once, they will tell you yes again. They will buy from you again. And I remember thinking, like, okay, so how can I get in front of these people again and just offer them more coverage, right? I solve one immediate need for Joe and I pay off the loan on Joe's car. Just a small policy solving one immediate need. How can I get in front of Joe again later and offer him more coverage? Because if he told me yes once, he might tell me yes again. And so step two became to meet with the customer, the policyholder that I just wrote a life insurance policy for, at the issuance of the policy, to review the policy, but then offer more coverage, go into an upsell. And this is where, my second belief comes in, that I believe that yes, something is better than nothing, but I also believe that more is better than something. So for those of you that are like, oh, I don't want to do a disservice by just writing the small, yikes. I don't want to do a disservice by just writing the small policy. I hope that you're maybe thinking a little bit differently from the story that I shared, but also, like, understand that, like, you write this small policy, like, that's just the beginning. The next step two, is to meet with the customer at the issuance of the policy and offer more coverage. Think of this, as soon as the policy issues, you meet with them, you review the policy, and then you simply do a life needs analysis, go after the other needs at the issuance in that mini review appointment, right? Like, I believe that if you want to increase your odds literally by 100% of writing more life insurance premium, hold issuance reviews with every single life policy that you write. And just watch what happens. But I'll tell you what happened for me is I was taking $100,000 policies and I was turning them into $1 million. Because now Joe not only wanted to pay off the loan on his car, guess what he now wanted to do? Cover his mortgage, replace some income, go after more and get more of a comprehensive policy in place. Okay, so that became step two. Step three became the annual life review. So I write Joe a small policy. Maybe it's a new business household that I'm quoting, and I position life insurance to pay off his F-150. As soon as that policy issues, guess what? I get in front of Joe again and I go into a review and I offer more coverage. I go after more of the needs, and Joe, boom, $1 million in coverage because he wants it to do more for him. That's all within, like, the first couple of weeks of getting this in place, right? This all happens within the first 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. Step three was 1 year after the policy has been in force. So at the annual anniversary of the policy, I would then hold annual life reviews. And in these annual life reviews, I would review the policy, right? And here's the cool thing is, like, I didn't have to sell a policy here. We don't have to sell a policy when people already have one. We don't have to sell life insurance to them. We don't have to sell them on the concept of that. They already believe in it. All we need to do is sell a review. which is much easier, by the way. But naturally in these reviews, guess what happens? Conversions, return of premium, term reset, get them more coverage, not to mention like getting coverage for spouse, for kids, for parents. But naturally, you're going to write more premium in these annual life insurance reviews. So this is the life insurance funnel. This is how I started to position life insurance that allowed me to go from 10 life apps to 123 with just about 35,000 in premium. But year 4, guess what happened? I start doing step 2 and 3, and I did 231 apps. So I'm still, writing a lot of these smaller policies to solve the one immediate need, the starter policy. But then we're working in these issuance reviews, annual life reviews, to get people better policies, better coverage. That my 4th year, I did 231 apps in life insurance with 100,000 in life insurance premium. In my 5th year, I did 251 with 151,000 in annual life insurance premium. The reason that all that could happen is because of this life insurance funnel. So again, my belief is that something is better than nothing. People are underserved. Something is better than nothing. My second belief is that more is better than something. We can do both. We can do both with this strategy. And I'm telling you, as you plug into our Wednesday and Friday sessions, as you watch replays, as you download our scripts, and as you figure out ways based in your specific role, how you can write more financial services, if you can take this strategy and implement it, I'm telling you, you will join other team members in writing 100 life insurance applications this year. You will join other team members in writing 100 health insurance applications, 100,000 in financial service premium. This stuff works. And I'm excited for you guys to plug into these meetings because we're going to teach you every step of the funnel. We're going to teach you many different ways to write life apps, health apps, whether it's with new business. If you're a new business team member, maybe it's from everyday service transactions and calls. Maybe it's working the book from lists, or even if it's reviews, we're going to teach you how to write apps. We're also going to teach you how to run these review appointments so you can go after more premium. And I'm telling you, you're going to make more money than you ever have. Your agent's going to love you because you're contributing in such a big way to the agency, but you're going to be protecting people's financial futures in a very big way. So I'm excited for you to learn and to implement each step of this life insurance funnel so you can take things to a whole new level.